Ultimate Collectibles here, very excited. I have 4 or 5 statues arriving this week. This is the second one I'm reviewing. Sideshow Daredevil was a few days ago, and this is fantastic. I think this is going to be one of my top 5 pieces, and let's just jump in and figure out why. Ultimate Collectibles here with Apocalypse on Throne. This is a custom piece, and as a reminder, we don't talk about where custom pieces come from. It is quarter scale, so 1/4 the actual size. It seems rather large for a quarter scale, but that's probably because Apocalypse is a huge guy. Apocalypse is a X-Men villain. He is also immortal, if I believe correctly. He's empowered by his mutant ability, and then also some celestial empowerment, including abilities such as healing and technology control and teleporting, and just the list goes on, which is why he's such a badass Apocalypse villain. This is actually one of 3 Apocalypses I have on the way. All 3 are custom, and they're all a little bit different. This one to me is kind of a true modern take on the comic book. There's one that's very similar to the movie that just came out with X-Men, and then there's one that's classic comic book, X-Men cartoon. Very excited for them all. With a custom piece, this was an ES of 70, so 70 were created. Price was around $1,100 retail, I believe, and then shipping was $700 because the box was gigantic. That's what she said. The box was 1 box altogether, standard black foam, and it was a bitch to unpack. I had to do it layer by layer, slowly taking everything out, and because the weight on this is tremendous as well. The throne, I posted a picture a few days ago, almost sits my 7-year-old on it, and he's the tallest kid in his class. So it's just a gigantic. The throne is 1 piece. A few of the cables on the back, these are magnetically tied, very easy to put together. And then all of the costume jewelry or whatever this is on the Anubis, and I can't remember what the Egyptian eagle is called. These come on and off just by magnet, and it's very easy to put together. Apocalypse himself is 1 piece, with the exception of mine had 3 heads. I believe there's an exclusive version out there that might have a 4th head, but the 3 heads are this one, which is my favorite. He's baring his teeth. He's kind of an evil, menacing, threatening smirk on his face. Then you also have this one where he's also showing his teeth, but it's kind of a smart-ass smile, kind of he knows better. And then lastly is kind of a menacing face with his lips closed, and to me this is very similar to the cartoon style. Seems very simple because it's Apocalypse on a throne, and this is the 7th throne piece I have, and I think I have about 6 more coming over the next few years because I'm doing a big throne collection. But it's not that simple for multiple reasons. One is you have a lot going on here. It's a throne that has a ton of ancient Egyptian ties to it, from hieroglyphics on the back to the god statues. Obviously it's made of gold. It kind of has that sandy tone to it. And then there's a lot of futuristic technology kind of built in there. And some of that technology is very similar to what's on Apocalypse himself. So it's obviously Apocalypse's throne. He may have you know, customized it, transformed it for his sitting, and he's sitting on it holding up his fist as he's the most powerful being in the world, which he is one of the most powerful villains out there. Just maybe he just destroyed all the X-Men, maybe he's getting ready for his reign, who knows what's going on. And I don't know if I have him seated right, actually, because I'm not sure. I'll have to check that. Too excited. One really cool thing I want to show some pictures now is the throne itself that Apocalypse is actually sitting on. Behind him is amazing detail, and this didn't have to be that cool because it's going to be, a lot of it's covered by Apocalypse himself. But they went ahead and they did a fantastic job with that detail on there. Paint and sculpt, I was able to resit him a little bit. I still don't know if I have him flush, but I'll figure that out later. This is going to take a while because there's so much detail in here. And before I get into that, one thing I want to talk about on this piece is the quality. Not just the sculpt and paint, but you can tell the QC process on this was excellent. There was no issues from paint issues to connection issues to anything like that. And just looking at it and touching it and feeling it, this high quality was put into this, and they really spared no expense, which is cool. But starting at the bottom, the base that the throne is on is kind of a pyramid-like sandy structure. You can see a lot of indentions and cracks and divots throughout, and they mixed in a bunch of different brown colors to simulate sand and kind of ancient Egypt, and it looks really cool throughout. I think it was the perfect choice, and it was executed very, very well. Starting on the throne itself and just starting on this, one of the sides over here, both sides are very similar. They have some different markings. But even at the bottom, you kind of have what looks like, I talked about the futuristic technology, almost like a spaceship, very similar to Apocalypse's armor, mixed in with the sand, stone, brown sandstone type substrate that's very similar to the base, but it's a different hue. And then you have some of the coils like Apocalypse traditionally has around himself, some of those tubing and coils that go up to the bird, the Egyptian, I know this is an Egyptian god, I can't remember which one because I don't study Egyptian gods. And it's very cool. It's mixed in very well. There's some hieroglyphics in there. I wonder if they actually read anything. And I just love how it's done. It's very space age while it looks like it's ancient Egyptian at the same time. The back of the throne is very, very similar. So you have a lot more ancient Egyptian type stuff with tons of very cool hieroglyphics that are sculpted in there perfect. Yet you still have that futuristic tubing and metallic, blue metallic, and the tones in here are perfect. They really complement each other very, very well. Moving up to, like I said, I think this is Anubis, the god of whatever. And there's a ton of detail on him as well, from his face down to his collar and the dreadlocks on his ancient mask. And then Apocalypse himself, so starting at the bottom, so he's wearing his traditional, it's almost a celestial suit, and I think he has the ability to kind of like Mystique to kind of change what he looks like, but it almost looks like metallic boots, and it's worn over time. You can see some deliberate paint of not only some blues, but the silvers and the grays in there, to give it that aged effect because he's been around for quite a while. There's even a crack in the boot itself to show the wear, and they go all the way up to his knees. And then you see Apocalypse himself, and obviously he is buff as hell, not only in his leg muscles but his arm muscles. And I really like the different shades of gray and black that they used in his skin. It gives him that armor look, almost like a knight. And it's funny, if you look directly at just these parts, it looks kind of stupid, but as a whole, it's phenomenal. Phenomenal. Then this same type of armor plate that he had on his shoulder pads and his collar and his boots is also around his wrists and his hands. And great sculpt on his hands, both where he's making a fist here. It almost looks like that armor is embedded, like it's part of him. Almost like it's kind of biotech. I don't even know what biotech means, but kind of cyborg, part creature, part robot. And then also it looks great on the other hand that's laid out on the throne as well. And I like, again, the contrast of the colors with his hand and the armor. His belt is sculpted in very well. It has this traditional A on it, and again, it's a different color of silver, so it contrasts very well with the skin. And I love the colors on this. I talked about that on the throne, but there's not a ton of different colors, but they just complement each other so well. Then his chest, he has the same muscular aspect that he has in his arms and legs, and the blue and black tones running up the middle with those silver and black on the side. And then moving quick up to his shoulder pads, again, it's very similar to what he had for his boots, kind of armor, futuristic tech, almost like metal plates. And it's the same thing with his collar as well. And I love the tubing, the coil tubing that's running up and down his from his arms to the back of his suit, and it matches the same that's all over the throne. And again, that just has some basic silvers and blacks mixed in there. And then getting up to his portrait and just examining this portrait, because all are very similar as far as the excellency in the paint and the sculpt. I really like how they captured the sculpt of the traditional Apocalypse with a little bit of a modern take on it. The lines and the definitions in his cheekbones and his head and his eyebrows and his nose are really well done. His teeth are good. They're not amazing. If I had to critique the statue, that would be one of my small 2 critiques. But there's no doubt you're looking at Apocalypse, and the paint just pops on this. It is perfect. I hate to say, I rarely use the word perfect with a statue, but eyes, a few different shades of red in there, but it's that gives him that menacing look that Apocalypse has. And then over his head kind of has that futuristic, almost like a helmet, but almost not, with that blue color. The other critique I had with the statue, which isn't huge, and I don't think there's any way they could have gone around it, but these parts of the mask that attach, there's a tiny, tiny little gap. And they had to ship them separately because they probably would have broken off during shipping, but they fit I mean, there's a good strong magnet in there, and it's not really a QC issue, it's just a design issue. I guess you could have done it flush, but then you would have lost a lot of detail here on this aspect of it, and same with up by the ears. So I tried to go through that quick because you could stare at this for hours. All the pictures I've seen on Facebook, both before this was delivered and after this delivered, were really good. But in person, most statues look better in person. This one looks 20 times better. It is, I don't want to say grail, but when you think of the concept, the design, the quality, everything that was put into this, I think this will be a future grail to come. I'm never going to sell it unless I have to for a divorce, which is likely with all the statues I keep buying, because it's just so amazing, and packing it back up in that box would be a nightmare, shipping it as well. I hope you enjoy this. Please give me a comment if you would like, good or bad, I don't care, it helps my YouTube rating. And with that, I am going to unbox or review either PCS Goro tomorrow or custom Magneto vs. Wolverine Wolf Slayer. So thanks so much. Appreciate it. Take care.